So you're welcome back to your choice station. We're hanging out here with Dr. Panam Percy Paul. We just want to ask him some few questions as regarding to his latest album, Glorify. Good to have you, sir.
It's nice to be with you too, and my pleasure.
Thank you very much, sir. I was able to listen to some of your track in your album, the album Glorify. Yes, can you tell us about the album, how it has been for the past 40 years? I heard you singing, and you were talking about 40 years in singing. Can you tell us how the journey has been?
Well, everything big always starts little. There is nothing in life that begins from the roof. No construction is ever done from the top. Everything goes from the very basic foundation. So I've had my own moments of growing up, moments of struggles and decision making and so on. Certainly it hasn't been the easiest road, because when I started out in ministry, music ministry was not even established. It wasn't a thing that anybody would want his son or daughter to get involved in. The interpretation that my father had for music was just what was obtained secularly, and so with every trial to convince him that what I'm doing or getting into is just purely gospel, it was really, really difficult. He just couldn't understand it. And at some point he actually said to me, if you were going to be a regular pastor, having a congregation and pastoring people, I would give you 100% of my support. But this one that you'll be carrying guitar all around, I really don't understand it. And he was very, very, forthright with me, and told me no, he wasn't going to support me at all. And he did everything possible to convince me otherwise. But of course, my mind was already made up, because I knew exactly what I saw. I knew exactly what my encounter with God was, and there was no room for any other choice. So this was it for me. And a few years into that, I think 4 years into ministry, this was 1978, my father openly disowned me, that he would have nothing to do with me, since this is just what I said I was going to do, that I was a disgrace to the family, family's name, and so on. And my father disowned me for good 19 years, until 1997, when I went to Yola to release the album Master of the Universe. That was when my father and I reconciled. So the journey hasn't been pleasant, from the beginning. But with me, the ministry itself has been fantastic. It's just been maybe what I would even call truly an easy flow, because my mind was never on what to eat, where to sleep, and so on. I was never at any point thinking of how much money I was going to make out of ministry. I saw ministry as my responsibility, God's assignment, for me towards humanity. And I never thought that at any point one day I was going to be paid for CD, or going to be appreciated for ministering to people. The talk of honorarium never occurred in my heart, or in my mind, in fact. So I was really shocked for the first time when someone would say to me, "Oh, for being a blessing to us, take this." It was really, really shocking. And when I got back, to my house, I said, "Can you imagine? Someone is paying me to do what I was committed to do, to do what I was already gifted and mandated by God to do." So it's been a very challenging lifestyle, but then very, very pleasant. I don't think I would have chosen anything else.
It's so touching. It's so touching. So, sir, which of your album is actually the first album?
The very first album is not one of the famous ones. My first album was titled, or is titled, Dynamic Good News. I did that along with the Youth Life Club, the band called Dynamites, when I was still in Kaduna in 1976. And but my solo album, which I did with my own band, the very first was titled Beautiful People, and my band was called The Bare Truth at that time. So the third album was O Gates, Lift Up Your Heads. The fourth album was Don't You Cry, which was recorded in 1982 but released in 1984. And after that I had a real long break because I was going through lots of challenges of being established. At that moment things became really very tough. Economically speaking, it was nothing to write home about, and I had a wife and two children that needed care, and nothing was really going on, nothing was really happening, so it was really very challenging. And I made up my mind I was going back to the US, where things, of course, were much better. And but within that period I recorded the album Cheer Up, which was done in 1985. Unfortunately, the Lord said to me, don't release that album because nobody is going through the stress you're going through. So this album is your story. This album is talking about the stress that people go through, the pains of life, and the solution, meaning God. He said to me, if you release this album, no one is going to be attracted to it because nobody is going through trials.
At that time.
Yeah, so he said to me, you wait. The time is coming when the nation will be going through stress, and when you release this message, everybody would want to be comforted by it. So I waited until the year 2000, and that was when the Lord said to me, you can now release this album. So I released it in December 2000. That was 15 years later, and that was the end of songs that I would say that I wrote myself. But from Bring Down the Glory 1, I've just been receiving songs, because at that point my relationship with the Lord had changed, had gone to another level. So I was no longer writing per se, I was now receiving instructions, receiving messages that I needed to pass across to the church and to the nation, and that gave birth to Bring Down the Glory series.
Okay, so you said something now that struck my heart. You said you were receiving songs. How were you receiving these songs?
Receiving songs, but people will tell you sometimes they were in meditation, some in the moment of prayer. Mine was just anyway. It could just happen at any time. A lot of times I'll just be reading the scriptures and boom, it just drops in. And my sensitivity to the voice of the Lord and the Holy Spirit was very, very apt. And I wasn't one to miss the voice of God at all, because I knew that voice very clearly right from 1974. I had an encounter with the Lord in 1976, December 31st. I had another encounter with the Lord in 1984, and these are very, very strategic points in my life, and it wasn't possible for me to miss the voice of God. So once He told me, this is what is going to happen in your country in the future, like in the case of Bring Down the Glory 1, that there's going to be some religious crisis, and that gave birth to the song, soon the war will be over, soon the loser will suffer. But those who fight on their knees have got victory in the spirit, but those who fight on horses will see death when all they have is defeat. And so this is the trend of receiving information. And when in Glory 2, I talked about the church, the song "Bring Down Your Glory" itself was really talking about the state of the church. And a lot of people, when they heard the song "Bring Down the Glory," "Lord, we are sorry, we've turned around and gone astray," some people, concluded that, okay, Dr. Panam must be talking about himself. Maybe he had fallen into sin and he is not confessing to God. And, in my mind, I was like, how would I fall into sin secretly and then confess it, openly? And I was like, no, can't people just listen to what the Lord is saying? That this is the situation with the church. If I have a situation to deal with God, we deal with it in secret. The Lord does not embarrass anyone. In fact, the Lord hates to embarrass any of his children. He prefers to deal with you in secret. Unless after dealing with you over and over and over and you don't seem to listen, then it comes out in the open. And so these informations that I've been receiving, some of them for me, some for some other people who I directly give them those songs, as I sing to them. The ones that are meant for the nation, those are the ones I release in the albums. The ones that are meant for the church, I release in the albums. If not, I've written well over 3,000 songs. And these songs are not all for CDs. They are meant for people. Some of them are even meant for me. So these songs are meant to be a source of encouragement and healing to people at various stages of their lives.
Talking about the song being meant for people, I don't know, when I listen to some of your songs, the message, it looks as if you're a prophet or you're a pastor or something. Please, can you just tell us more about yourself?
Well, I'm a pastor. Obviously, to be a pastor is not just one who has a congregation of 500, 1,000 and all of that. No. To be a pastor simply means a shepherd. And a shepherd can shepherd over one sheep, or can shepherd over 10, or can shepherd over 500. So if you have just one sheep, you're a shepherd. But the intention there is that this one sheep should grow and be able to give birth to more sheep. So in my own case, I have probably over 40 million Nigerians who listen to my songs and the messages. I consider them to be members of my congregation. So pastoring over 40 million people is a real big responsibility. And so obviously I'm a pastor. A prophet, I think one who just simply listens to God and receives information and instructions and passes the same to the relevant recipients of this information is the person you regard to as a prophet. And obviously a prophet, or rather the taste or test of a prophet, is when those prophecies come to pass. So when I released the album Bring Down the Glory 1 in 1987, Glory 1 in 1987, and then Glory 2 in 1991. When 10 years later, as the whole events started unfolding, that was when people started going back, to listen to the albums again and say, oh, okay, this is exactly what Dr. P was trying to tell us about. So when prophecies come, a lot of people expect that prophecies should get fulfilled overnight. Some people are expecting that when you say, this is what the Lord is going to do, they expect that, in 24 hours or in 6 months, this thing should happen. There are prophecies that are meant for probably 20, 50 years from now. And so we just have to wait There are certain prophecies that have been fulfilled after the prophets are dead, long, long gone. You know, I mean, Jesus was born several years after David had prophesied that this child was going to be born. You know, David prophesied even words that Jesus was going to say himself. But David was not alive when the prophecies came to pass. Isaiah prophesied Jesus Christ. He said, unto us a child is born, unto us a son is given. About 800 years before Jesus was born. So if anybody had doubted Isaiah, then 800 years down the line, they would have said this man was God's prophet. So these things, being a pastor or being a prophet, are not titles that people carry. You know, we don't just go carrying titles. Oh, this is Pastor Panam, this is Apostle, this. No. They are job descriptions. They are assignments to be carried out. Just like Paul would say to Timothy, he said, do the work of an evangelist. Don't carry the title, do the work. It's a work to be carried out, not a title to be borne.
Right, thank you very much. Now we go on a short break. We'll be right back with you.